What is up, you guys? Chet Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with my new podcast series, Fascinating People and Extraordinary Stories. Anyway, today, you guys, since we are now officially in the Halloween season, I have brought on a few people. A few people to talk about their ghostly interactions, their ghostly experiences, all from across the board. Anyway, tonight I have who is perhaps one of the best ghost tour guides in the city of St. Augustine. If y'all don't know what the city of St. Augustine is, it is the oldest city in America. Anyway, I got a lot of my stuff from this guy right here. His name is Travis Tobins. And anyway, he has quite a few stories ranging from the paranormal all the way up to, well, how we say in the ghost tour industry as complete, well, lunacy. Anyway, without further ado, here is Travis. Travis, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Travis. So I've been doing like ghost tours for since 2018 in St. Augustine. Basically, I've been around like paranormal my entire life. I grew up in a haunted house. I remember the guy's name. I found out the guy's name later was Ralph Smith. He died right outside. There's a old tool shed like right outside my house. I remember I used to hear tapping. There used to be tapping on the window all the time. Turns out I had a psychic friend who came over and said, yeah, he was basically just trying to, tap on the window, trying to get back inside. Didn't know he died, probably got jerked out of his body so quick. He just didn't know he, died and was just trying to get back in. I remember when I was two, the sliding glass door opened and closed. I remember it opened by itself. And these are like really early experiences that I had. And then I started getting more, I guess, into the, professional. In 2011, I had some army buddies that were ghost hunters, and we went out to, I don't know if do you remember a place called Black Moon Manor?
Yeah.
In Hancock County, Indiana. You ever hear about that one?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I got pictures of it. It was an old tuberculosis hospital. It was an old farmhouse that they converted into a tuberculosis hospital for kids. And it was a haunted house attraction, also not only a ghost hunter, site, but it got closed down a while back. The owner got in some trouble. I think another paranormal society got like set him up. But I remember my first experience there was this dark doorway. And if you turned your head, you could see a figure. It looked kind of like a woman with dark hair. There was no face, and the dress was all tattered. And Ghost Hunters actually was trying to find records of the same spirit, but couldn't find any. Still, but she's there. I seen. Well, I kind of saw her out of my peripherals, but. Yeah, that's some of the early experiences. And of course, I have tons in St. Augustine as well as other places, kind of more obscure kind of sites. But that's as far as ghost hunting, that's my kind of track record there.
Because actually, yeah, what are you done talking or?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I was just going to say that was one of the things that I was curious. It's how far back does this go exactly? Because, when, I think ghost hunting and paranormal, I kind of think back to that episode of Paranormal Witness. I'm pretty sure you've heard of the story where it was a group of Marines, they went out to quote unquote the Rock. And from that day forward, there was activity every single day up until they finally said, we can't do it anymore. Have you heard about that one?
I haven't heard about that one. I'll have to look more into it.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, check it out. What had happened is originally it was a Pakistani Pakistani setup. And Russian troops at the time were trying to take it over, and it was just this. I mean, you're talking about people that died left and right. I guess as we're talking about it, like what kind of experiences did you have in the military? I mean, because I imagine there's got to be
That's
some stories there.
that's what's strange. Now this is really strange. Like when I was deployed, I had like no experience. Like I was in Kuwait, but had like no like dreams, nothing metaphysical when I was deployed. When I came back, that's when I had these weird dreams. I started having like sleep paralysis where you're awake, you're asleep, but you wake up and you can't like move, and you'd see like weird shit going around.
Yep.
Um, and that's when it's like there's like this resurgence of paranormal activity, because for a while everything was kind of with me like stagnant, and then it comes back like it's like a tidal wave. It comes back like full force. Like
Yeah.
it kind of pushed me towards maybe I started having just strange. I guess I used to read a lot of Carl Jung, so like synchronicity events were taking place that were familiar, a lot of deja vu kind of things going on. It was really intense.
Hmm. So wait, how long have you been a guide for Ghost Augustine?
Yeah, since I think I got hired in December of 2018. It was like around this November, December area of 2018. My first tour, I think, was in December, and that was rough because I'd never done it before. I was holding a script, reading from the actual script, which was the one I had wasn't very descriptive. So I actually had to do a lot of research on my own to really,
Yep.
really absorb and of course have my own experiences too. Actually adds to that, you know.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, St. Augustine is the most haunted city well, depending on who you talk to. I mean, but if you think about it, unlike, New Orleans or Savannah, it's like you could walk 5 feet, and you'd see a ghost. It's that crazy down there. Um, and I guess while we're on this topic, I guess what are some of the most active places you've ever been around in the old city?
In St. Augustine, the most active that I know of right now, I'm going to start with the two worst as far as like dangerously active, as far as you would encounter a spirit that would want to hurt you, would be the old slave cemetery on West King Street, that San Sebastian.
Yep.
That's got, I mean, you just, especially at night, you go in there and there's just danger all over. You just sense it. Like it's just there. I don't know anybody that's got attacked there though, but that's when I just know it's got some really intense vibes. And of course it's in a rough part of town too. I mean, it is in a rough part of the city. So you do, yeah, I mean, you do have that to contend with as well.
Yep.
Then as far as like downtown, 36 the house 36 Cordova Street, which is by very close to Flagler College, very close to the church too, as well as what used to be um, damn it, Scarlett O'Hara's.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Oh, you still have the picture. Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's some like you see in that picture in the bottom. I think
Yep.
that was the original owner whose name was Emma Siggy. Siggy, Segui, which if you look at that name, harkens back to in the Siggy the old boarding house, which is now the Historical Society, the Kirby Siggy
Yep.
Smith House, which is a Menorcan name. So probably one of the original Menorcan families, I think. But she was, I believe, from her obituary, she was a nurse, and she had a husband, John Siggy, and John Siggy Jr., which they're not pictured there, but I've seen bald spirits. The guy looked like he had cancer. He had sunken in cheeks. Uh, I've seen pictures of that, which that looks like I think her son or her husband. Yeah, that.
Yeah, that's like I said. When you were when I was asking about some pictures that might be worth talking about, I mean, I was like, God, I hope he talks about these. But yeah, I'll let you talk about these right here.
Yeah, yeah. So that property there, that was the old gunpowder property. The Spanish used to keep gunpowder there. I think there's also a Spanish barracks not too far from that site, that location as well. Um, there's a boarding, or not a boarding house, bed and breakfast called the old Gunpowder Inn. That's houses right next to, and these definitely would appear to be some sort of militant, very militant like entities. You see one at the right looks like he's about to choke that dude. And I've had people choked on this property. I've had people throw up. I've had people with headaches, just having some very extreme, physical symptoms from being around there. And it definitely, I think these things are pretty much responsible for it. So there is confirmed like physical contact with an apparition on that site. So that makes that one of my probably most dangerous sites. One I still got to collect more information on too, because it's private property. And it's hard to find. You got all the other stuff that has a lot of stories in St. Augustine, like the fort and stuff. But this particular location, I don't know if you have a picture of the house, but like it's got like Amityville style like windows, like four. Like
Um,
I don't know if you have
Actually,
a,
I don't, but
like
I,
I got plenty on my some of my pages.
mm. Oh yeah, I mean, you care to talk about like how this house particularly became noticed? Because I know you've told that story before to me, and I just find it very scary. Like,
So it was weird because this house, and I call it House 36. That's all I can really call it. It's not on the tour. It's, in fact, I don't think it's on any tour but mine, or other people that find out about it. But I remember, I think it was my fourth or fifth tour. There was a very psychically gifted woman who was really good with the dowsing rods. I remember she was getting hits left and right. She was the one that pointed out to me on a tour, and we actually did see. She actually took photos, and we did see. And I remember the photo was like this headless, like it was just the body of an apparition. It was just staring at us out the window. There's like a large porch area of that home, because that home is built in like that home is built in like 1900, according to property records. And it was just staring out the window. It was all jagged and just weird looking. I remember just staring out. And back when we used to go up on the property before they put the no trespassing sign on, we'd look inside that window. I remember one guy said he thought he saw boots. And when you look inside that window, and I don't recommend anybody do it, by the way, because it is private, property, and there's a lady that sits out there in the back and watches it. She yells at people too. But I remember back when we used to look inside the windows and try to see something. I remember there was no drywall at all. It was all studs, which was very strange. It's like somebody wanted to renovate the home and then just completely just stopped, just quit, and just immediately just abandoned the project. So yeah, it's definitely weird. It's definitely you get weird vibes being there. You get very heavy ones too.
oh, I was gonna say, mm, sorry, I'm eating a little bit of candy. Um, mm, particularly with this house. Now, this happened like after you told me this story. Occasionally, I would take people by it. And again, I would warn them not to go up to the house just for that reasons, I should say. Um, but this one particular night, I was telling them about what they found. And I think it was you who told me, but there were like these weird symbols at all corners of the house.
Oh yeah, sigils. Yeah,
Yeah.
sigil markings.
Um, I was telling this to somebody who, by the way, at the time I didn't know was a medium. I just kind of assumed that, some of these were just some old codgers, wanting to, wanting to tell me how bad I was at my job at the time. Um,
Yeah, you
but
get those.
yeah, a lot of good moments being a tour guide. But I was telling them the story, and they were like, that might actually be something to quote unquote keep something in. Um, because they were telling me that they sensed that there was a portal beneath or a portal on the property.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think somebody opened something up. I always suspected when I was there that somebody they call. I used to have a book on this. It was a book on symbols. I can't remember the name of it now, but
Book of,
um, was that?
I was just saying the Lesser Key of Solomon.
Yeah, but it mentioned it, but it was another book that kind of interpreted it. Um, but the ceremonies that were conducted, like there were different. It explained all like in detail all the different like symbols, and there was a symbol. I remember there used to be a symbol on that door or next to that front door that was very very reminiscent of one of those symbols that you would see for one of those uh, angels, in the Book of Solomon. So that was kind of scary because I recognized it right away. So I remember I had a book on that, and I'm a very booky book kind of guy. It's just
Yep.
I got a photographic memory when it comes to like pictures and stuff too. So when I see it, I recall it pretty easily.
Oh, by the way, not I know it kind of takes off topic a little bit, but I have a Michael Teleglue, Teleglue. I think I'm saying his name right. He's asking, what tours do you give with them if you still do it? In
What
what area?
tours? Oh, so he's asking what tours. Right now, so far it's just a walking tour, like a 2 hour walking ghost investigation tour where you get like tools like dowsing rods, K2s, and I've been trying to incorporate the spirit box more. I did that last time because that was very active the other night. So yeah, mostly just investigation tours right now. I haven't gone into pub tours yet, but I kind of want to try that.
Okay, let me write the Haunted St. Augustine tour. And it's still 8 o'clock to 10:45.
Yeah, 8:45 to about ten
Okay.
45, about 2 hours.
All right. Let me put 8:45 to 10:45. I'll let them know. All right. There we go.
Awesome.
Okay. They're messaged and they know. Um, and actually, speaking of other active sites, I know there's one in particular that all in all, like I mean, I used my spirit box around it. Um, and I'll tell you, like I remember what kind of started giving me that weird feeling in my gut that I probably shouldn't go there anymore. Um, I said in the spirit box, don't follow us, goodbye, as a way of respect. And you could clearly hear, a distorted voice go, all right, you know, I mean, I'm not sure if you know what but anyway, it was just that very dark, distorted voice. And I was like, yeah, it probably said it in sarcasm. Um, But anyway, actually, since we are talking about that site, I did have it in my photos. Well, crap. I guess I don't. Because I thought I did. Oh well. Anyway, it was a picture of the apparition of a nun.
Was that in the Covenant Sisters St. Mary Joseph Academy?
What cemeteries?
Was it a cemetery?
Yeah. Well, no, it was it was a Catholic school. It's a Catholic school now, but it used to be an old nunnery.
Oh, so yeah, that's probably on Cadiz Alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's called the Covenant sometimes. Yeah, the Sisters of St. Mary Joseph. That was 1874. That was built. Yeah, it was probably one of the nuns. Well, there were I think there were four nuns. I think I might be wrong. I think about four nuns came there in 1868, right after the Civil War, and they were to educate children of freed slaves. And then it's a nunnery for a while. Then it becomes a Catholic school, very prestigious Catholic school. And then I think the schools moved to out towards 207, but that place still, I don't exactly know what it is now. I think I don't know if they use it in school. I really don't. I don't think they do. But I know people stayed in it at night because we had some people come out when we used to go in the courtyard and actually investigate. And when they found out we were doing that in the courtyard, they built the gate. I don't know if you were there before the gate was built, but that came soon after they found out we were ghost hunting in that courtyard area. So I don't think they ever opened the gate anymore.
I was gonna say some Saint Augustine's finest have to be so petty.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, it's like the National Park Service denies that that gunpowder room was a dungeon when it was, and they found torture devices in there too. In fact, the Spanish used to hang people in cages as a form of public humiliation outside the city gates and as well as around the fort area. So, but and they do that at Fort Matanzas too. They won't give you the exact location where Pedro Menendez slaughtered the French Huguenots. I actually had to ask a park ranger because they were trying to skip over it or, omit it from the the presentation they were doing. And I raised my hand. I was like, "Hey, what about this? Pedro Menendez? Where did you cut off the heads of the Frenchmen?" They're like, oh, yeah, that. Oh, yeah, that happens. So I don't understand why we have to, sanitize everything nowadays. Like, why does everything have to be sanitized? You see that in the media, and now it's like with history, everything has to be clean and neat, and there can't be any bad stuff.
Yep.
Which is making history boring,
Yep. I mean, that's my thing. A lot of people don't know that at the Castillo de San Marcos, all that property, more than likely, you are probably standing on top of somebody's grave because, of course, when St. Augustine would go under siege, people would go into the Castillo, people would be fighting left and right, soldiers would die, and of course, the women and the children, after the fighting would happen, with nowhere to put the bodies, they would just bury the soldiers where they were laying. That's what happened.
Yeah. The city's a boneyard because the city was built atop graves, the top of native graves, and then graves upon the native graves, and then it's just like it's like an onion. It's just so layered. So it's and New York City is the same. A lot of the older cities, I mean, pretty much every really old American city is like that because they would often just bury people where they died.
1 second. And actually, speaking of more graves, um, now I guess before I show the people that are watching this right now, um, well, Travis, I should probably let you tell the story because you're the one who posted the photo, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Um, it happened out at the Huguenot cemetery.
Oh yeah. That's the
Like,
judge. Oh, we think that's the judge.
I mean, this is considered like for most ghost hunters, this is an extremely hard photo to catch. And anyway, I'm going to let you take on from there, Travis, to explain what transpired to get such a pristine piece of evidence.
Well, this wasn't on my tour. This was on the young lady that works there on her tours, Lakin, I believe her name is. She had a guest capture this and then send it to Troy. I asked Troy if I could, have it and try to do some more editing just to see if I could, because I do some photography work on the sides to try to bring out maybe some more details on this. But yeah, definitely, it's definitely a robed figure, a black robe, and indicates, every time you look at an apparition, you know, ghosts can't communicate with us through really normal ways. So you have to look for, symbols. Symbols are very, very, very important in the paranormal world. And obviously the black cloak would symbolize that he's a judge or a person of authority. Black symbolizes authority, the color black. Um, if you zoom in on the face, you can tell he's got glasses. Now, I don't know what Judge Stickney, if this is Judge Stickney, what he looked like. I don't know if you've ever found a picture. I've never seen a picture of him, or if he even has or if a picture even exists of him. But it definitely looks like an older man. And definitely you can see the gray hair, the glasses, a man of authority. And the height too symbolizes authority. What is confusing about this picture is what the childlike white apparition is. That I don't know. That I have no idea. It looks like almost like it's a doll. It's so weird. And it's got like red on the chest, like and almost like that looks like a pie symbol. And I have no idea why that would manifest. Why it would manifest around the judge in particular, because the story with the judge is, I mean, he died from a sickness. I don't know. I don't think it was yellow fever, but I don't think he was part of the yellow fever epidemic. But he did. I know he died from a sickness, and then he was exhumed. His body was exhumed like 20 years after he was buried there, and then grave robbers take all of his belongings, which they don't do anymore. I guess I found that out later. They don't bury you with your stuff, that's not going to be the case for me because there's stuff I want to be buried with.
Yeah.
You know, because I have some pretty valuable stuff. But anyways, that's off subject. But
But
yeah,
what?
I guess that's what triggered his spirit to stay behind. At least that's what the story is. But I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of. I don't think a spirit would stay behind because they lost something physical. I don't believe. I think maybe there's some deeper meaning with this particular story, and maybe that I don't know. Maybe that child ghost alludes to that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he accidentally killed a kid. Maybe that's why he's got this tagging thing. This thing's attached because it literally looks like it's attached to him, like it's like a tick.
Yeah. I mean,
Something.
that's what I was wondering.
So maybe that's the case because like the Sixth Sense, where the ghost is trying to tell him, "Hey, this is what really happened to me. This is how I really died. This is why I stay behind." That kid, the girl that gets poisoned in the movie. Maybe this is what this spirit's trying to tell everybody, that, hey, maybe that story's not accurate. This is what I'm trying to say,
Yep.
Maybe.
Hmm. Well, since we are on, like I said, this is probably one of the best pieces of evidence, and I'm surprised that this doesn't wind up probably on Discovery or the Travel Channel within a few years. Um, by the way, everyone, again, this is Ghost Augustine. I highly recommend the tour company. They are the one of the best of the best. Um, One second, Travis. There was another one. This one I actually took while I was on one of my tours. This is one that I took. I could never figure out what this was exactly. Like, is this just an orb or some kind of? Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I've seen some. It's not an. I don't put much faith into orbs because orbs can actually be refractions of light or lens flares. Um, it's not an orb though. It's definitely not a lens flare. It
Hmm.
where was is this?
Yeah, this is at the back of the Huguenot.
Okay. Oh, you know what? People have captured green mist like this at Huguenot. Yeah, it's just some kind of like residual like mist energy. I don't think it even has a. It definitely doesn't have a being or form to it, but it's definitely paranormal.
Hmm.
Um, but people have reported green mist around that cemetery before.
Hmm. Like I said, I've always wondered what it is because, like I said, this was captured, near the end of my time with Ghost Augustine, and to this day, I still have no. Well, now I know what it is, of course. Um, One second, there was something I was going to ask. I think it had something to deal with what was in. You know what? Let's talk about this one. I remember the first time you ever showed me this one.
Yeah, that's so that wasn't even insane. That wasn't in St. Augustine. That was in Deltona. Um, a friend sent me that. Um, she lived in this house in Deltona, and Deltona was actually on the Discovery. The episode was called "A Haunting in Florida," and the show was called, I think, "Haunted" or "Haunting." You remember that show? On
Yeah,
the
I
Discovery
remember
Channel?
it.
And the episode was called "A Haunting in Florida." It was about this house in Deltona, and this isn't the same house though. But I know where that other house is, and I used to be friends with Facebook on the guy that was in that house. I forgot his name though. But this home, and I visited this home. We went back to this house. That face, it's clearly a face with it's kind of a two face. It's got a, you can see it's got like a feminine like facial features on the right side, and then it's got like a skull appearance on the left, almost like it's literally a two face. I
Yep.
did some research, and I remember my friend said that this woman, apparently there's a woman that committed suicide in this home. She's very obese. She had to get up out of bed out of a lift. Um, I guess she couldn't take it anymore and died and committed suicide in the bathtub. I don't know if she slit her wrists, or I don't know what the method that she used to commit suicide was, but shortly after that, the home was sold, and my friend began experiencing some very intense, like, poltergeist activity. Like, her kids were like lifted out of bed, thrown. The lights were on. They actually had to tape the light switches because the light switches kept going on, so the light switches had to be taped. Um, just moody, violent sort of atmosphere, and being caused by what believed to being caused by this thing. And I did a little bit of research. Apparently, if you commit suicide in certain folklore and certain myths, you become a vampire-like spirit. Like they call them strigoys. The Greeks, that was their Romanian version. The Greeks called them the Morai. And they're just these basically these like parasitic. They just create atmospheres of just anger and chaos, and poltergeist activity. They're opening doors, flipping on light switches, banging stuff, actually physically trying to hurt people. And this is apparently what one would look like. There's another picture I have where that face kind of has a smirk on it. The other picture, there's a frown. It looks like just angry and pissed off. And that other picture that I have of this particular one here that she took. So, yeah, this is a nasty one.
Mm. Well, like I said, I remember you telling me the story back when I had to shadow you for a night.
Oh yeah.
Which actually, here in a minute, yeah, I do kind of want to talk about the quirks that come with being a tour guide, because both you and I know that it's a rather interesting business, at least to say.
Yeah, it is, but it's a very popular, booming business too.
Well, actually, this is the last thing I want to talk about. This is, well, you care to tell everyone what this little kid is?
So that would probably be Jimmy Morgan of Telemato Cemetery.
Yep.
Very playful, probably one of the most active spirits outside that um, that dark one, the black one, or the black like shadow entity that sometimes I've been told will actually oppress this spirit or any other spirit in that cemetery, which there's quite a bit. But Jimmy's the most well known, the most active, the most likely to interact with a tour, especially if there's children on the tour. We've caught EVPs of him saying, "Come play with me," or inviting people out to play with him. Apparently, he's thrown acorn. I remember when I was shadowing, a guy got hit with a acorn. I think it was. Oh, Jimmy throws things. Jimmy likes to throw things at people. So I guess he threw something at this guy, and this guy just came running because he was sticking behind. You know how on tours you'd always have that person that stays behind, and tries to, and then has to catch up with the group real quickly. I guess he was trying to do that, and he got chased. He got chased off. It was funny.
But yeah, I just figured since we were talking about the Talamato, but now that we've talked a lot about the paranormal, let's get into the quirks about being a guide. Since St. Augustine, well, I guess where I want to start here is I guess start where it all began. What caused the paranormal tourism industry boom in St. Augustine?
Well, I'm not sure exactly. I know from our tour, I know the history of it. As far as our tour was started by a metaphysician. He was actually a PhD. He was actually a doctor. I forgot his name. But he started the tour. He actually wrote a book, and I still have his book because he's very into he was parapsychologist. That's the word I was looking for. He was a parapsychologist. He was actually a true Ghostbuster. As far as like the PhDs and all that. I believe he started in 2001, and it was one of the original ghost tours. And I didn't even know about ghost touring, honestly, until I actually did one with my ex back in this like early 2018, right before my ex suggested, "Oh, you should do this because I teach history, so I'm used to having I'm used to having sort of an audience, although my my other audience, my middle school audience, sometimes is a little harder to please than my adult audience. But
Yep.
yeah, that's kind of what brought me into it, because I didn't even know it existed. I'd just been, ghost hunting on the side, with friends, and not really doing it professionally. I didn't even know professional ghost touring actually existed until I started, frequently, becoming a regular in St. Augustine, and then that's when I found out about it myself.
Well, oh wait, okay. Anyway, I was just wondering if you were done there. But I guess what I was, I guess why I bring that up is, or I guess, how would you describe the, I guess the industry in St. Augustine?
Very, very busy, I think would be the best way to describe it. I mean, there's tons of ghost tour places you can go. There's like trolley tours. There's like tours where they're like wearing period, costumes, and even speaking accents, holding lanterns. You get so they're trying to do sort of a reenactment / ghost tour thing, I guess. I've never been on one of those tours personally, so I can't really, from my experience, I've never been on one of the costumed reenactment tours, I guess. But there's a lot of choices, a lot of options, and then there's a guy. He's like a sheriff, goes around, talks about different things, and plays the sheriff. So you have a lot of the, I guess you would call it entertainment tours, and we're considered entertainment too. But I think we're a little bit more serious. And I know some of the other tours like kind of lie. They kind of make up things, especially when it comes to like this particular story about Andrew Ranson, who I've probably done more exhaustive research on that particular figure because I'm just intrigued by him versus the other characters that are ghosts in St. Augustine. Andrew Ranson's always one that I get really passionate about, because I mean, he's just there's just flat out lies that are made up about, like, he had a wife, but some of the other tours will make up the fact that he was like married to some woman, or the governor's daughter or something. I
Yep,
remember.
governor's daughter.
Yeah, which is totally not. No historian, no professional historian, academic has confirmed that, and he disappears after 1702. Like, he's gone off the record. And supposedly he was executed, according to one historian who did research in 1969. And I got this from actually Florida Quarterly. I got this actually from an academic source that he was probably, they think he was executed after the fort was completed. So, but you won't hear that again because people are trying to sanitize, events for some reason, or historical events. Nobody wants to talk about anything dark, or, everybody wants to put a happy ending on everything, which is totally not the case. If it was a happy ending, then they wouldn't be ghosts. They wouldn't be around. They would
Yep.
have moved on,
Yep.
So,
I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think, or like I said, it just kind of makes me think about some of the tours that I gave, when I was working with y'all. I think one of the quirkiest tours that I've ever been on, and this is something that at least one, or as a guide, you will experience at some point, but you will get a bachelorette party. And when you have said bachelorette party mixed with a trip to the bar before the tour, yeah, that is a bad combination.
I've never got I've got one bachelorette party, but they got pretty into the ghost hunting. In fact, something really strange happened. I remember one of them we were at the Lightner Museum. One of them took a picture of the window, and at the time there was nothing. There was like no gift shop or anything. The window was like covered. They took a picture of it, and when we saw the picture, reflecting out of that picture was a woman, it totally in white, looked like a bride, but she had like a stone look. She looked like a statue, but totally in bridal, like totally white, but like a statue of a bride. It was weird, and yeah, so that was interesting. When I had a bachelorette party, I don't mind the bachelorette parties, honestly. So they can get kind of fun, but um, but yeah, it's I get people on tours that won't take it seriously, or some of them won't even flat out. They'll just flat out tell, "Well, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm just they're being dragged there by their girlfriend or boyfriend or somebody else, whoever they're with. They're just kind of being dragged along, and you can tell like they're just not having a good time, no matter what, no matter how engaged you are, and you're trying to make. They're just not into it, and that's fine. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Yep. I remember this goes back to the bachelorette party. One of the members in their party, he was anyway, well, anyway, he was part of the gay community, and I will tell you, he was hitting on me the whole time. Do you like? I mean, I'm trying to give a tour, but he's like, "Come on, honestly, honey, what was his name?" And that was a story that I was telling about my best friend, and it's like, then it rained, and yeah, we got caught with another tour. The Odd Macabre. They were giving a tour. I mean, it was pouring at the Lightner Museum, and the of course the Bachelorette. She gives me like a $20 tip, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that we put you through this." Me, I'm like ready to scream. I mean, and I'm living on my boat at the time. Um, Not fun, not fun at all. Which kind of makes me like, do you feel like when I say this, I don't mean to be, if it comes off as like some people might find it offensive, but have you ever felt like it almost feels like a turf war between the ghost tours and St. Augustine?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because it seems like when I'm giving a tour, everybody converges at like all the tours end up somehow, all like 4 or 5 tours will end up crossing each other at the Talamato Cemetery entrance. So it gets very hard to take people over there, the entrance, and have them hunt and explain, and
Yep.
explain the site to them. Um, and just there will be some people that jump from this company over to the other company and just trash the other, trash our company. That's happened before. I don't think that's very professional, honestly, and that's just not cool to do. Even though it is competition, but still, I don't mind a little friendly competition. But it's like when you try to sabotage and undercut, especially a company you work for, to switch over. That's kind of a crappy thing to do. It's just not. I mean, because really, I mean, we're all doing the same thing. We're all ghost hunting, trying to give people a good time, good experience. So there's no reason to be so adversarial like that. But I remember there's one guy in particular that we kind of passive aggressively butted heads. Was the guy that he wears the top hat. I forgot his name. I just remember uh, we both got at Huguenot Cemetery, where I usually stand. He just immediately like rushes up, plants his lantern down, going, "Well, I'm about to sound off here," or whatever. And yeah, that was kind of, yeah, that was not cool. And then there was one woman, one of the costume tours, trying to actually take my tour to show them rods. And I'm like, "Oh no, man, they already got rods. I work." Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like gangs in New York. You know, like, there can be like gangland, like turf kind of things going on with some of the other tours.
Yep.
I never thought that would happen, but yeah, Gangs of New York is one of my favorite movies. So yeah, I reference that whenever I, you know, talk about the, you know, the business competition, I guess.
Yep. Well, I mean, speaking of that, I think you could probably you can speak for it too. It's granted, I don't mind the the Ghosts and Gravestones trolley. Although like I said, you can comment on this too, but it's like, you have the Ghosts and Gravestones trolley, and then you have these big jacked up trucks, which are so, they have these big speakers that you can hear from outer space. Care to comment?
Oh yeah, the Ghost of Gravestone trolleys. I mean, they don't really bother me too much. I mean, they're doing their thing, they're doing their job. You know, it's whatever. But yeah, the trucks, the people that scream out names and try to like scream. And when you have kids on the tour that are minors, and you got guys trying to pick up on them, that happened. That are driving around. That was totally not cool. And then. Yeah, there's one guy that's going around. He comes around every Saturday night. I call him like the club car, you know, because he brings the club to you. He's got like neon green. I wish I knew like who he was, so you know I could like say what's up. But like
Yep.
Yeah, he's always blasting music and stuff. I mean, that's it's is what it is. I don't want to sound like I'm old, like damn kids and their damn loud music, but like
Yeah.
when you're trying to give a tour and someone's blasting like concert like levels of music, it can get kind of irritating. But that's not. But what irritates me is the people that will yell out of cars, just like say ghosts aren't real, or just driving around. Some of these dumbass college kids, that think they're being cool and shit.
Yep.
Just like nah, like what like watch your mouth, like
Yep.
it's not that's not cool. And what really made me really like grinding my gears, I guess, was because I had like a 13-year-old girl with her parents, and then you had guys rolling around going, oh yeah, I want to pick me up some of that or whatever, like that was totally so inappropriate. Like just that there's just no like decency just
Yep.
in that town at after 10 o'clock at night. That's why I don't really like kids coming on the tour, because it's not really the ghosts or anything. It's because of the people. That's the live people that are the problem. And also that, you got a lot of drunks around, people drunk driving. There's this one guy that was drunk driving on the sidewalk over near the Covenant. It was like Grand Theft Auto style. I mean, he was drunk, just swerving all over the place, going everywhere. He crashed into the St. Francis Barracks. And it's just crazy. I mean, it's Florida. I mean, St. Augustine is part of Florida, and you're going to get Florida, your typical, stereotypical
Yep.
Florida man or Florida woman, whatever. But it's a part of Florida, so it's going to have that.
Yep. Yep. I miss giving ghost tours, Travis.
Yeah, it's fun, but it does have it definitely has its quirks.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's actually. I'm trying to remember. There was Well, I'm trying to think, because there was one tour that I was absolutely like, I'm done. Like I had one of those tours. It's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and by the end of that night, I was like, nah, I can't do it no more. But anyway, well, since we're kind of nearing up the end of the podcast, let me see if I can't pull it up here. I'm going to see if this link will work. No, it doesn't. But anyway, here I'll let you tell everyone about your channel.
Oh yeah, so that channel, yeah, that's probably my main. That's my main channel. That's where I try to put all the quirky. I try to put all the quirky, weird stuff on the Celluloid Alchemist, which is really it's really a channel that promotes shooting analog film more than. And but I use my paranormal. I use paranormal subjects, and film gives more of a creepy vibe anyway. When I try to use that, to on some of these sites, especially there's one video where I shot the fort on 8mm film and actually used the soundtrack from a 1947 travel movie and put that and recreated that. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do. I'm trying to break into the documentary world using that channel. Then I have another channel which is just a video I call it a video dump B-roll sort of channel. But this is my main one. Yeah, this is one that I'm trying to get going. I'm trying to post more. It's just sometimes hard because it takes forever to post video sometimes from the internet that I have. Like it takes up to an hour. I don't know if you have that with your videos, but it takes up an hour to like upload everything, and even longer to edit. So, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better at like being more timely about it. Trying to at least 2 or 3 videos a week. That's what I aim for. But sometimes it isn't always possible because I'm sort of just a part timer at the moment. But yep, that's pretty much the gist of the channel. I mean, it definitely dips in the. I try to get in the dark. Try to cover the darker side of Florida and the darker side of pretty much every places that I visit or whatever subjects I encounter. Just showing a side that isn't always recognized, especially with like the Urban X. Like I love Urban X photography and trying to capture some of these abandoned places before they're gone. Because nobody's taking some of these places nobody's taking care of like at all. So
yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, if you ever feel like coming up to East Tennessee, I mean, I imagine you've probably watched a few of my videos.
Oh yeah, my favorite. My
Go
favorite
ahead.
was the World War II veterans that took over the town. I never knew about that, and when I found that out, I was like, "Yeah, that's America right there."
Yep.
That is truly living the Constitution right there.
Yep. I mean, and that's the thing too. It's like not really many that people know about it. And you hear especially like the current state of America. It's like, I mean, it is possible that you can overthrow. Well, gotta watch what I say because can't say that
Oh,
anyway.
Biden.
Yes, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's just like, yes, there is an American town that overthrew its government because it had a good old boy system. They kept on voting in people to keep the same racist, destructive, to keep those men in power. And these men that were coming back from the Pacific Theater, they said, no, we're done. And that's pretty much what out in that area. But
I mean that's the thing. I mean, when the government's serves itself and not the people, it prices itself out of the market basically.
yep.
You can't afford a government that only cares about itself. You just can't afford it. You can't afford to pay them. You can't afford to do nothing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I do believe we're coming up to that hour mark, Travis. I guess before, anyway, thank you all for watching. As always, remember to like, subscribe, share for more awesome videos. I will post a link to Travis's channel on this live stream feed. As always, thank you all for watching, and thank you, Travis, for coming on tonight.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. Sorry you couldn't see my face.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, those things happen. especially technological stuff and whatnot.
Yep.
Well, this is another one for a night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And I think we are good.